Welcome to Mineral Talks Live, the monthly live mineral webinar that brings you in-depth and in-person interviews with mineral people from around the world. Mineral Talks Live is brought to you by a joint effort among the Mineralogical and Geological Museum at Harvard University, the SMMP, and Blue Cap Productions. Tune in on the first Wednesday of every month and stay connected to your mineral world. Now, broadcasting live from beautiful Honolulu, Hawaii, the land of aloha, ukuleles, and shakas, this is Mineral Talks Live. Well, we've returned from Tucson and we're slowly getting back to normal. For all of you who were able to tune into our last show, thank you for watching. Those February shows are among my favorite shows of the year, simply for the fact that they're the only shows of the year where the Mineral Talks Live team is actually physically together in the same room. Energy is totally different, and we always have such a great time. And our guest, get out of town, the legendary David P. Wilbur. I'll tell you, we've been wanting to do that interview for a long time. Now, if you missed that show, no worries. We'll be posting the finished show online later this week, so make sure you keep your eyes tuned to our announcements on social media. As for today is Wednesday, March 1st, and this is episode 72 of Mineral Talks Live. For those of you joining us for the first time, Mineral Talks Live is the monthly mineral talk show where we sit down with people from all facets of the mineral world to learn more about what they do and who they are. Our guests include some of the best curatrix, curators, collectors, dealers, miners, researchers, artists, and media people in the mineral world. My name is Brian Swoboda, and I run a little company called Blue Cap Productions. The other two dynamic members of the Mineral Talks Live team are Dr. Raquel Alonso Perez from the Mineralogical and Geological Museum at Harvard University and Dr. Eloise Gaillou from the Society of Mineral Museum Professionals, also known as the SMMP. On behalf of the whole team, welcome to the show. Now, if you want to see a complete list of all our past 71 guests and links to those interviews, please visit the URL at the bottom of the screen, and don't forget to click the subscribe button. Otherwise, tune in on the first Wednesday of every month and stay up to date on what's going on in the mineral world. Now, one of the things that makes this program so unique is that this isn't just a conversation between me and our guests. All of you are part of the show, and when you participate through the chat or the Q&A feature, this show becomes more dynamic. Both of those features are located at the bottom of your Zoom window. The chat feature allows you to type messages to everyone watching the live show. If you have thoughts, comments, or questions about what we're discussing, this chat area is where you can post them and interact with each other while we're talking. Usually our guests and I aren't able to read those comments, but Raquel and Eloise will be very active in the chat area and may even interject a question or comment during the interview. Also, this is a fun place to say hi to everyone watching the live show, and you can share where you're tuning in from so that we can see what parts of the world we're reaching. As for any general questions you may have for our guests, those questions can be typed into the Q&A section, and we'll get to those questions at the end of the show. Finally, towards the end of the program, you'll see a window pop up on your screen. This is our quick-fire 5-question segment to see how well all of us know our guests. So join us, play along, and let's see how many we get right for today's guests. Now, for today, we're heading back to the land of my birth, Southern California. There, nestled in the hills of northern San Diego County, lies a now legendary area called Pala. Pala is the home of a Native American Indian tribe. That's where it gets its name. And it's also home of one of the most famous and prolific gem and mineral producing areas in America. It has a long history of providing material to collectors across time and around the world. But today, there's really only one major gem and mineral producing area that has been consistently providing us with new materials over the years. That would be the OceanView mine and the Pala Chief mine, both owned and run by today's guest, my good friend, Jeff Swanger. Jeff, how you doing, buddy?
Living the dream, my friend. Really honored to be here with you guys.
I love to hear it, brother. Good to see you. So during our test last week, you had some really bad weather, and in the news, we're all hearing stories about the snowfall. How's the weather down there right now?
We are in another storm. They've been just unending storms this winter. We desperately need the water, so we got to not complain too much. But yeah, we're getting hammered again. 5 inches in the last few days of rain. Snow behind us, 5 feet deep on Palomar Mountain.
Ooh. Well, now,
A
fortunately, you
lot.
work underground where it doesn't affect you much, but I heard that the weather is also affecting some of your operations up on the top. What's going on there?
Yeah, we got water dripping everywhere and erosion, and we're just fighting the elements. But we're about ready to come out of it, though. We'll be back on a normal schedule very soon.
Awesome, man. Glad to hear it. Now, Jeff, during our preparation for this interview, you and I figured out that we first met, I think it was about 20 years ago, up at the mines. So we've been friends for that long. But I've never heard the story about how you first got into minerals. So talk to me about the first time you remember being so moved by a mineral that you said, I have to do this for a living.
Well, a lot of it had to do with your father and his
Oh,
story. Hearing those stories. I was naturally kind of the treasure hunt kind of guy anyway. When I was in junior high, believe it or not, they had an archaeology class,
okay.
and we went out on digs and stuff. They were developing Southern California at a rapid rate in the early '70s, and bulldozers were overturning Indian villages, and there was just I got into treasure hunting like that. We'd go out and back then it was so kind of socially acceptable. We'd go out and rescue arrowheads and pots and grinding stones from the local Indian villages because they were smashing them with bulldozers
Hmm.
as fast as they could. So one of those days,
Shame.
I found an aquamarine crystal in Escondido, and I knew that San Diego County had a gem mining history. I knew a little bit about it. That was before the internet. We're talking early '70s. So, it wasn't as easy to you couldn't go to Mindat, look stuff up. So I found this aquamarine crystal and I wondered where the Indians got that thing.
So,
I knew,
I'm sorry, Jeff, early 70s, you're still like, you're not even quite a teenager at that point.
yeah, I'm in junior high in 71, 72. I went to I
Okay.
started high school in 73.
Right, right. Okay.
Oh, so when I found this aquamarine crystal, I asked around, and a friend of mine's big brother who had knew a little bit about these things, he said, "Oh, that must have came from the Mac mine in Rincon, which was a bona fide aquamarine mine, that had been mined at the turn of the century." So some stuff I've seen since then, he was right. That's where it came from. So anyway, I got a hold of an old book and read a lot about it, and it was for me. I'm the treasure hunt kind of guy. If I lived in Florida, I'd probably be diving on the wrecks. But I was raised here, and we have a nice treasure hunting area of our own. Several of them out here, so it was on for me. Heard after your father's historic finds and things, it was like that's. I decided that I'm in. And I kind of went all in. We had a family-run construction company. I was doing that and mining on the weekends, and then finally I spent a lot of years out here, and finally, about 10 years ago, took it full time. But it all started with that little aquamarine crystal that stirred my interest, where it came from.
Well, now, Jeff, this is interesting because so many times we hear the progression story of people being impressed by a mineral and then they end up becoming a collector, or maybe they become a researcher or a curator or a curatrix. There are there are a lot fewer stories about people who find, in your case, like an aquamarine, and they decide to become a miner. That's a major shift. What pushed you into that realm of mining versus collecting?
Well, you do a little of both, but it's the thrill of the discovery for me. Like I said, I'd be on the wrecks if I was in Florida. That would be
Okay.
the opportunity there. But I'm just I got the treasure hunt by nature guy, and mining is treasure hunting. It's no other way to put it. It's a big time. I do a
I'd
little.
say it's kind of like a combination of gambling and treasure hunting.
Yeah, I mean, where's my wife? Well, when I find once in a while we'll find a big zone and it'll be a bonanza, and then she'll look at me and she'll go, "Are you happy now?"
Nope.
Well, when she says that, it's on, because it's like, hey, I don't think you understand what makes me tick. We want to go out and find the next one. We're already worried about the next one. That's just kind of in your nature.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now, when you started, you had purchased the OceanView mine from Roland Reed, correct?
That is correct.
And then eventually you acquired the Pala Chief mine.
Yeah, what Roland had the Elizabeth R and the OceanView, and he told me, hey, I'm getting older. My wife wouldn't know what to do with these mines if I died. I'll sell you the OceanView. And he was really, really a good guy. Those who knew Roland, he was a great guy.
He was a good friend.
He was a good guy. Yeah, him and your dad were buddies. So I started a tunnel, my own tunnel, and I went back to the historical name of OceanView, which what the pegmatite was called. Roland had changed the name of his workings to the Elizabeth R, named after his daughter. R stands for Reed. So we just went back to the historical name of OceanView. We didn't name it that. It was named that turn of the century. So then a few years later, after I'd paid him off every penny for the OceanView, I had a couple of partners in the early days, and I had a bunch of stuff to untangle and pay off, and typical mining stories. And so I got through all that. And Roland said, I'd like to sell you the Elizabeth R now, but I want to keep mining. I'm not sure how many days I want to come up. I said, Roland, we want you here. You keep working in your tunnel as long as you want.
Wait, sorry, Jeff. You said that he then sold you the Elizabeth R. I thought you had already purchased the Elizabeth R.
No, I had purchased the OceanView.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
First.
Sorry.
And then I bought the Elizabeth R.
Gotcha. Okay. Sorry, I got confused.
And then a few years later, the Dawsons sold me the Paula Chief.
Right.
Now, 10, 12 years ago now, something like that. But I first bought the OceanView. It was like 23 years ago, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in 2000. But I'd been working out here at the other mines before that, so this was when I got to, buy them and take them over,
Right on. Now, the Pala Chief was previously owned by Pala Properties. That's when my father and Larson were partners and had that company. And then they sold that to one of our viewers today, to Dave Wilbur. And so few people know that, but Dave Wilbur actually owned the Pala Chief for a while. And I don't know how it went from Wilbur to Dawson's hands. Do you have kind of a timeline there?
I really don't know. I think Norm had it first, Bob's father, for quite a while. And then, he had it for a long time, and it really broke his heart to sell it. But he developed Parkinson's disease and just couldn't do it anymore. He's still alive, and he's still doing good. He's a wonderful man,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Back when we did the New Crystal Hunters, Bob was actually there, and he was owner of the Pala Chief at the time. And so we had visited both the OceanView and the Pala Chief. That's with Lauren McGaw and,
yeah,
a team of young kids.
I remember it well.
Yeah. So now you have a mining team that you work with that works both. Do you work both the OceanView and the Pala Chief now?
And the Elizabeth R.
And the Elizabeth R. Okay. So when I say mining team, these people are more than just your employees. They're like your partners. So I feel that this is kind of a unique way that you've structured this. And it was actually through this partnership that I actually met my friend Eric DiCarlo, who is the host of What's Hot in Sainte Marie. But talk to us about how you created this team and how all of you work together, because I think that's kind of interesting.
Well, we had worked together at the Stewart and other places, since the mid 80s. And Phil Osborne and Steve Carter, and there were a couple others. And those are our core. They're still with us. And we just worked together before we got here. And when we got here, we've been working together all these years, and we've just had the time of our life doing it. We really have. It's so blessed. Every day is a blessing, and we've just been so lucky to have a run like this. It's unbelievable. So the core guys are still there. We do have some younger guys that we've added over the years that have become pretty proficient at what they do. So, that we have taught some others in the next generation how to do this, because it's complicated to do this. It's not easy.
Absolutely. Now, and beyond just pushing tunnel, you also developed a pay-per-dig site at your property. Talk to me about the initial idea behind starting this and what kind of effect you've seen digforgems.com, what kind of effect that's made on the community.
Well, we get tremendous support from the public. It was kind of like and necessity is the mother of invention. It's kind of like that. We were, constantly catching people sneaking around out here, collectors being what they are. They want to collect, right? And so that, and
migrators, as we like to call them.
And we needed revenue to really develop it into what it is today. You needed revenue. So I just, we decided along the way, let's give this a shot. And so there were those who said it'll never work. I heard all that. And we pressed on anyway. And now we have some 500 visitors a month to the mine for over 20 years.
That's stupendous. And you've had some celebrities come by and visit you guys up there.
Oh yeah, we had Neil Young, Daryl Hannah recently. They've been here before. I've become friends with them, and Jamie Lee Curtis called me one morning at 6:00 in the morning, like we were best friends. Hey Jeff, it's Jamie Lee, and I was half asleep. She goes, I want to bring my family up there, but I don't want to do it in a public setting. Right. Then I go, oh, is this the Jamie Lee? And she says, yeah. She turned out to be a hoot. So anyway, we gave her a private day, and we've had, guitar player for what's his name for Ozzy Osbourne was up here recently. We've had just tons of them. Diplo, the disc jockey, music promoter, he's been up here a couple times. Zach Wilde, the guitar player for Ozzy Osbourne.
Now, explain to the audience how your dig for site, how your pay for dig site kind of works. I mean, I've been there a few times with my kids, but I'm imagining that there's some viewers that aren't exactly sure how it works. So for those who haven't been aware of that, talk to us about that a little bit.
Well, my friend Jeremy, who's sitting right over here, he's just been a godsend for me. He's a tech guy. And since the early days of the internet, we had Dig for Gems, and it kind of took years to get the organic traffic we get now. But it drives the whole site, but he does an unbelievable job of keeping it updated and current. So we're not a bunch of outdated information on there. And they just go there and make a reservation right there on the website. And then we nurture them along with information they're going to need, how to get there, when to show up. Everything comes to them. And we've refined it over the years. The reservation system works really well. And so now that COVID's kind of a thing of the past, schools are coming back, which we're delighted. We're getting homeschool groups. I think we got 5 of them coming in March alone.
Wow.
Big groups, kids getting their minerals for the first time. And boy, do they'll never get it out of a book. You won't really get the bug out of a book. You come up here and find a crystal and it's on. These kids want to come back.
You're hooked.
Oh yeah. They want to come back when it's their birthday, and their parents say, hey, man, you saved me from another Disneyland trip. I asked John what he wanted to do for his birthday, and he says, well, I want to go back to the mine. So that's a win for us and a win for them. And that way like I said, we get 500 tourists a month through here. And that's, you do the math over 23 years, it's a lot of people. And I see these people now that in Tucson, they come up to me and say, hey, I first went to your mine, and I was 14 years old, and now I went to Colorado School of Mines, and I'm a mine engineer, and I got the bug. I got the bug up there, man. I got to tell you that. And it just makes me happy,
So now what you do is you bring out tailings from your tunnel pushing, and you put it in a big pile in a big kind of flat area, and you've got this ring of tables around it, basically, that have screens on it. So kind of describe how that whole process works.
Yeah, it's very well thought out and functioning, and we've spent a lot of money and time on that to make it a very nice facility. Picnic tables, flushing toilet bathrooms, misters on a hot day. And with the tables are just the right height to save your back. And you go and fill your bucket at this pile, and you go back to your table and screen it, dunk it in the water, and pick out what you want. We give you 4 hours to do it. and they literally come from all over the world to do it any given week.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be more, I'm humbled that, that all these people that take that much time out of their life to come up here and get involved with what we're doing. It's very humbling.
That's fantastic. And so just to be clear, no one is going underground. This is all on the surface so that there's no danger whatsoever. It's just 100% fun.
Well, we do undergrounds for GIA groups, college, we can gear up to do that.
Okay.
But on an average day, we cannot do that because we couldn't get any mining done. I have to use the licensed miners to conduct those tours.
Right.
And so we have to do one or the other. So for special groups, when the GIA wants to bring a group, or, Cal State Fullerton comes regularly and stuff like that, we will definitely. We had a college from Europe, as far away as Europe, last week. So we took them underground, because they're all grad students, geology grad students. So we'll make it happen for certain groups, but there just isn't time in the day for everybody. But sometimes when we're going on one and we have a guy, it's his birthday or something, we'll do our best to accommodate some public too.
Right on. Right. So don't count on it, but if you're able to make arrangements, then it's quite possible. I will interject that it's not only groups. Sometimes special individuals will come down. Like, I know Raquel's going to visit you next month, and I want to see pictures of her underground.
She'll get to go under stuff like that. So we're open. We can do that for scholars and, schools and stuff like that. It's just
right on.
Can't do it every day. We wouldn't get any mining done because I got to use my miners to do that.
Exactly. Now, Jeff, when you hit a pocket, are there more specimens that end up in the pile so that people coming down there, they have kind of a higher chance of finding things?
There's a lot more in the pile sometimes.
Okay.
Pegmatites, if anything, they're inconsistent, as people know who know anything about them. Some days there's lots of stuff. Some days you're always going to find some stuff. But in a couple, any given day, few are going to get lucky. But there's been days that we'll never be able to live down there. When we were in those kunzite pockets, we saw 60 people every day. This went on for months, year even. They would leave with a kilo or two of purple kunzite, every one of them.
Come on,
every one of them. And they're like, and then they'd say, "This kunzite's cool, but we were hoping to get more tourmaline." And I'm telling my staff, I go, you're just not going to waltz out of here with 2 kilos of kunzite.
Right.
They were doing it
with a hammer.
They were doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
Every day is not Christmas in a pegmatite. We wish it was, but I think maybe that's what makes it more special when you do get one of those days, because they do come.
Absolutely. So, Jeff, of all the pockets you've found so far, there has to be one that stands out more than the others. What's the name of the pocket, and why does it stand out so much for you?
Well, the pocket turned into a zone, which we hit the Kahuna 1 pocket, and we hit that. We knew we were close. We'd already hit some kunzite, and then I was on the beach in Hawaii, of all things, when my staff sent me photos of a 6-inch tourmaline that they just pulled out that Saturday. And then by the time I got back, the pocket was just opening up, and that one came to be known as Kahuna 1. We had your father in that one at some point too. That went on for quite a while. And then we went, we drifted as we kept going down dip some more. We were in pockets the whole way. And then we hit Kahuna 2, which we named it. And we named it that because right in there somewhere my father passed away. And he was our Kahuna. And so that's how it got its name, the Kahuna. And the Kahuna pockets became a Kahuna zone that lasted for about 2 years. We were in stuff for like 2 years solid. It was everywhere. It was like it was never going to end, and produced a lot of material, like in excess of 1 ton of spodumene.
Fantastic. Well, Jeff, we're going to switch to some of the photos that we have here that you sent us. Let's start with this one. This was just taken recently. I love this photo. Tell us what we're looking at and what's in the background there.
We're looking at me, and in the background is the Queen right over my shoulder.
Right on.
That was no accident.
Yeah. So for those of you unaware, the Jeff's operations are right across the valley from the Tourmaline Queen. He has a beautiful view of the working entrance to the Queen, and there he is. And I love this next photo because it really sends the right message there. That dirty girls
Ah,
rock.
there you go. That was at Westward Look, I believe. Yeah.
That was at Westward Look, and that's Jeff. He had given a Dirty Girls Rock T-shirt to one of our co-hosts here, Eloise Gaillou.
She
So
probably still rocks it.
I'm sure she does.
Probably needs a new one by now, though.
Oh, totally, totally. So Jeff,
Okay.
we're going underground now. Tell us kind of what we're looking at here.
That's Steve Carter. Him and I have been digging treasures since junior high together. Different places, a Stewart here, and he's just an all-around good man. We're looking at a very enriched section of the pegmatite. You can see it's got the clay, it's got the shoral, it's got the grain size is pretty big. It's got the mineralization. So those kind of places say to us, dig here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we do.
Here's another shot of Steve. I love this shot. And just FYI, for all the viewers watching, all of these photographs were taken by Mark Mothner, who spent a lot of time with Jeff down there. And so we have both in kind of situational photographs like this, and we also have some professional studio shots, which we're getting to. And so all photographs credit Mark Mothner. Mark, big thank you for getting us these photos. So
yeah, we're super fortunate to have him around during this to document this as a pretty well-known mineralogist. That was super important to us.
Brian and Jeff, quick question. The picture before, which pegmatite was that one from?
That's the OceanView.
Okay. And do they all look similar to some extent when we talk about Stewart, OceanView, Pala?
Yeah, the Stewart is a pretty well decomposed pegmatite, but it would have looked just a lot like this had it not be so, if it wasn't so decomposed. This one's really hard rock. And really the Elizabeth R and OceanView are on the same pegmatite. It's the same pegmatite, but it changes a lot from spot to spot to spot. In 10 feet, it can change a lot. It can go almost blank of minerals to enriched with minerals. So you just got to keep slugging it out with the rock, but the rock's tougher than it looks, especially the older we get.
And so let's go back to this shot of Steve. That's a hydraulic jack up on a jack leg, and that's all powered by, or it's a pneumatic drill. It's all powered by compressed air, and there is a water hose that feeds into there. So, Jeff, do you want to elaborate a little bit on the equipment here?
Yeah, that's the business end of the mining. We drill with a drill like that. We have several of them, and the bits are 40 millimeters, 1.75 inches roughly. The steels are about 4.5 feet long, and we drill with water induction, as you say. The hose on the right is a black water hose, a smaller one. That way we won't choke in dust. It knocks the dust down. We drill in a water slurry instead, like a mud slurry, so it cuts through the rock. So we drill, blow the holes out with an air tube and load them with explosives, and it takes about 2 pounds of explosives per hole. And a tunnel the size of ours requires at least 30 holes. So it can take a better part of a day to drill that. Mm-hmm. And then we shoot it and muck it. You know, we can muck it in a day and shoot it in a day. Like 2 days, we can get 4 feet of tunnel.
Okay, so you do one charge a day.
At least one a week. Then we got to spend the rest of the time digging it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we do with mechanized methods. We have, self-propelled bobcats that go underground, and we dig it out.
Makes it a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, and then we ventilate. We got to ventilate the mine real well so we can breathe.
Here's a great photo of Phil doing a little drilling here. Tell us what we're looking at. And we've got some great lepidolite on the bottom there, yeah?
Yeah, we're looking at a smaller drill used for smaller holes to try to open up pockets. we'll put a small charge in that hole. You can see the mineralization is such that we got to be careful right there. The way the shores are lined up, pointing down into that mineralized spot. I mean, we got to be super careful right there. So we'll bust out a smaller drill and proceed with caution. And that we got kunzite right out of that spot there after that shot.
Now all this stuff up here, this is the black tourmaline called schorl up in here.
Right. And when they're pointing down like that big one, that's kind of, and they're pointing right at a mineralized spot. You want to dig that spot out. And the color of that feldspar gives it away too.
Tell us about that.
Split colored feldspar, and we got a lot of stuff going on right there. The pink is mostly altered spodumene.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And so lots of good signs right there.
Oh, you bet. And then all of a sudden, boom, we got some gem spodumene right in a pocket, when the wall was full of altered spod like that. We didn't go far from there. We were into beautiful gem material.
Great. Now this shot here, Steve's digging into what looks like a pocket that you guys opened up.
Yeah, that's Kahuna 1 in the early days. It went on for weeks, and it got bigger and bigger, and it eventually spread all the way across the tunnel and into the floor. It was like, went from upper right to lower left, and maybe 15 feet. And it went for a distance of 8 or so feet into the wall. And that one took some doing. We excavated on that thing for weeks.
Wow. Now this shot is you holding with almost a look of disbelief in your eyes.
Yeah, that pocket right there was the 49er pocket. That one was an early pocket. We had found it on my 49th birthday. I sprayed the wall with some spray paint. I told the guys, I said, I want to go here today. It's my birthday. And so drill up. We want to go up dip, almost straight up though. And they're like, but it really looked good. So they did it. And we opened up this pocket. We called it the 49er. What else are you going to call it on your 49th birthday? Right. So that thing turned out to be like a 6 months to excavate that pocket. It was over 25 feet long. Wow. And 6 to 8 feet wide. And there were some places in there turned into some really nice beryl. Really nice quartz. We got clusters of quartz that were 500 pounds. And then we turned to beryl. We got a number of nice beryl specimens out of that pocket, many of which I see in Tucson every time I go.
Right on. It's like old friends.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
Which pocket is this?
That's early days, and it's in the Kahuna zone.
Okay.
1 and 2. You can see a little. We opened up a pocket like that every single day that we drilled between the two zones. It was, some of them had tourmaline, some had kunzite, some had both. They were stuffed with kunzite, those things.
Now I'm going to show a picture of what a pocket looks like with a kunzite crystal sticking out right there.
Yeah, that's a beauty. That's a 300-gram gem crystal that's just purple, and just, we found that one evening just before. It was like December. It was in December 2010, and that was a small pocket, but that was the first one we found that had gem kunzite in it, and we were all blown away with just how good the kunzite was. It was fantastic. So we got pretty excited right about then, and it wasn't long. We knew why we were excited. We knew we were going to get, and we did.
Now here's a piece that you pulled out, still covered in the clay.
That's that same crystal we were just looking at in situ. That's the same one. And you can see it's a beauty.
That is incredible. And then here's back, I think we're looking at Steve here. We're back up on the surface looking at kunzite that you guys just pulled out.
Yeah, that's that same day. That was another crystal that came out of that pocket. That's a day we'll never, that's where it all started that day. And then the next year or year and a half, it was just on. It was like 100 feet of pockets of kunzite. So it took us like a year to go that far, or more than that, 2 years. And then all of a sudden one day that just the mineralization just stopped. It was kind of crazy, but man, we made our history there, and it was really a thrill to do that, because even your dad told me when he came down, he said, we owned the chief, and we knew about his tourmaline finds at the Queen and Stewart, but he said I never could find a kunzite pocket. So we had him in there digging one, and he was thrilled because he told me I never could find a kunzite pocket. So they're not easy.
Now, one story I want to share with the viewers, and it's kind of funny because I came down there at about the time that you started hitting all these kunzites, and you and your miners were almost cursing the amount of kunzites that you found, because as you would dig in with your fingers, all of you guys by the end of the day would have slivers of kunzites all in your fingers, and it was just so painful.
Yes, it got to be even the screwdriver the clay was so thick and gooey that the little slivers of kunzite would stick to that. So you couldn't even pick up the screwdriver without puncturing. You're bleeding like crazy. And so we went down. One went down the next day. Pretty soon we're all on the disabled list. Nobody can dig. So we're having friends and family and other people come in. We can't dig, because our hands got to heal for a few days. It just tore our hands up.
Oh, you guys can I interrupt for a few seconds? I have a few questions for you. First, can you comment on the color of the kunzites on the last picture?
The bicolor one?
Yes, because we see it blue, right?
Yeah, most of those ones. Yeah, see the one interesting at the Tucson just passed. Gene Myron's case of kunzites, not that crystal, but a crystal that we had sold him that was that color green. When we sold it to him, I saw it in the case there, and it had gone completely purple now. But when we sold it to him, it was green at the top, like the top of that one. So they did change colors, but in a favorable way. They didn't go to pale to colorless. His was beautiful purple, the one I just saw in Tucson. I'm pretty sure you know which one I'm talking about. I think we have a picture of it coming up.
Yeah, so the color is not stable. So it's only a few hours after you take it out and you keep it in the dark. Otherwise, it changes color, right?
Yeah, but that purple color that they are, it seems to be color stable then, because we didn't heat it or anything like that to get it to that color. So yeah, the green mostly didn't stick around. I do have some that I've kept, as a collection piece that still are green, but most of those turned to one color purple now.
Okay, and actually, short question, I was asking the question about what is the percentage of kunzite coming out green and blue compared to other colors?
Most of these in that zone were purple, but we did hit spots where they were all green, but then they turned purple. Mostly the ones I have still that have been out of the ground over 10 years, they haven't faded considerably, and they've seen plenty of light. So now the cutters want that stuff, and it also doesn't have the tubes in it like the Afghani material does, so they can polish it. As far as cutting kunzite goes, it's pretty favorable. So the first, kunzite, it's kunzite. We'll see how it does, but it's done well. I got ones that look just as purple as the day they came out of the ground. So that's
cool.
That's a plus.
Thank you.
Jeff,
Thank you very much. And other questions were, what's the weather or the working conditions like inside the mine? Like, what's the temperature, the humidity? Do you have some kind of air coming through tunnels or tubes? How does it work?
Yeah, when we were running in the OceanView like that, we had two 15,000 cubic foot fans that were mounted on a trailer and have a small diesel engine. And so we would ventilate the mine with 30,000 cubic feet of air, CFM. So it was still nice, and year-round temperature, ambient temperature down there is always nice. In the winter, it feels warm, and in the summer, it feels cool, and it's just hanging out underground, nice place to be, really. It's perfect temperature year-round.
Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
Oh, never a problem.
No problem.
You'll see.
So, Jeff, I want to go back to kind of some of the colors here. We're going to really show off the purple here. Talk to us about this guy.
Look at that outstanding color. That's what
Yep.
we came to, and they cut some beautiful gems up to, well, there's a bigger one that we've hung on to that's, we'll see what comes out of it, but we've cut gems over 200 carats out of that stuff. Flawless.
Amazing.
The Smithsonian has a 185 carat one that's on permanent display. And if you've ever seen the stone, you'll understand why. It's dark purple.
Mm-hmm.
Probably never will be another better one found in North America. And I would imagine probably never.
Amazing.
It's quite something.
Here's another great shot looking down the C-axis of this kunzite. Just brilliant color.
Yeah, and it's got some red in it. It's just fabulous gem material. That was fun.
Yeah. Now here's a great shot of a full crystal here. Which pocket did this come out of? Oh, that's tourmaline. Oh,
yeah, it's a foytite.
Oh, it confused me.
Yeah, that's a foytite that came out of the 49er pocket. There were hundreds of those.
Come on, that's crazy.
Yeah. Interesting color, huh?
It certainly is. Okay, here's a nice little shot that Mark took of just a bunch of kunzites there. Kind of give you an idea of the color and the sizes of them. And I'm gonna go ahead, Jeff.
That's fantastic. That color just, oh boy, people love it.
I think this next shot it's a stunner. Look at that cut piece. How big is that stone?
That's 201 carats.
201. Look at that. And who cut that?
A Brazilian guy, Pentagon Gem Cutters up in LA.
Okay.
And Intamar, I don't know if you know him. He's at the show every year in Tucson. I went to them because, Brazilians had experience cutting the gem because it's found in Brazil too, but now I got I got Dalen Hargrave working on some now that's going to be just unbelievable. He's the best American cutter that I know of.
Can't wait to see that. What pocket did this stone come out of?
That came out of Kahuna 2.
That's a Kahuna 2 pocket.
Yeah.
Good God. That's just the color.
Look at that.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, look at that. It's crazy, isn't it?
It just goes on forever.
200 carat kunzite.
All right.
Okay, there's the stone we sold Gene Myron.
Right.
Look at the color of it. And look, you remember seeing it in Tucson?
Of course. I filmed that. I filmed all 4 of his cases during setup.
It was purple. It was the one that was right in the center up top in that kunzite case. And go look at that photo. It's purple, but that's the same crystal.
That is amazing. And it's exposure to sunlight. It's the UV rays that changes the color, correct?
That's what I understand. Yeah. That's what I understand. A lot of people said that, it's probably going to turn purple, or we're just glad it didn't fade colorless, we'll take that purple any day.
Of course. Of course.
That's a quartz.
And the
number, just unbelievable.
This came from which mine?
OceanView.
This is from the OceanView.
Yeah, Phil Osborne cut that.
Oh, Phil cut this one. Okay, I was going to mention that Phil is an excellent cutter. Did he do this one as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
We cut some that were 1,500 carats, stuff like that. They're in museums. They're just beautiful quartz. I mean, really good. Phil's a madman.
Well, now you're also pulling barrels out.
Yeah, that's back to the 49er pocket there. That one had a morganite and an aquamarine on the same plate of clevelandite. That was one of the nice specimens. That's Cal Graber's specimen now. I believe he still has it in his collection.
Right on. And tell me about this guy right here.
That one is, they named that one Pinky and Blue Boy. And that's in Fallbrook's museum collection.
Okay, so people can go and take a look at that today.
Yes, they can. They acquired that specimen, and it was just unique enough where we're happy to see it there.
Fantastic. We've got a few more barrels that we want to share here.
That one I named the Prince of Paula. when I found it, because in my opinion, that's the best aquamarine specimen I've ever seen from San Diego County or even Paula for sure. Aquamarines are not super common in Paula. Out in Boulevard and Jacumba and Riverside, there's places where they're more common, Rincon, but Paula never produced a lot of aquamarine. Some, but not a lot. But that's the finest one that I've ever seen, and other collectors say the same thing. And it's holding its color.
Which pocket did it come out of?
That one came out of the 49er pocket.
That's the 49er, so one of the earlier pockets.
Yeah. That thing's the size of a baseball.
No kidding.
Yeah. Oh, that's a nice piece right there. I remember that piece. That came out of Kahuna 1. Very complex morganite crystal cluster. That's very, very beautiful rock, that thing. I'm not sure where that one is now.
And this is just such a beautiful piece.
That's a big, I forget what it weighed. It was 40 pounds maybe. That came out of the Paula Chief, where we hit a big pocket of mostly triphane, about 12. And we got that fine morganite specimen out of that pocket too. That's a beautiful piece. Saw that a few times.
I'm going to jump to tourmalines here. Tell us about these. Which pocket did this come out of?
Those are from Kahuna 1. And
wow,
underneath the coon side, it turned to lepidolite, massive lepidolite that looked like stuff came out of the Stewart. There was just big boulders of lepidolite, and then all of a sudden there was a clay layer, and there was bicolored nodules, and they were beautiful blue, green, and pink, and that was fun. We got lots of those.
How many would you say that you pulled out from that area?
Oh man, probably a lot of them got away from us. I'd say at least a couple hundred.
Wow, that was major.
Yeah, they were finding them on the fee dig, even to this day. We saved all that material on the mountain from that zone, and we still bring it up little by little and mix it in with. And we still see those turn up. Saw one just a couple weeks ago.
My God. All right. Tell us about these guys.
Okay, those are all in my collection. The green one with the blue looks an awful lot like it's not from Paula. Anybody that knows, it looks like an awful lot like Brazilian stuff, but no one had ever been down this deep here. But I walked in the mine one day after we blasted, and I was by myself, and I looked on the ground. I could see some lepidolite and some pocket material on the ground, and I looked down, and there were several of these green pencils, 2 or 3 inches long, laying on the ground. So I picked them up, and I looked up in the ceiling, and there was a dry pocket, meaning one without clay or very little clay. And they were just like a porcupine. There was a nest of them in this pocket. And I held my bucket up and kind of just gently poked my screwdriver, and they just rained into the bucket, and it's like falling glass. And that was the only pocket we ever found of those. It was right in the ceiling between Kahuna 1 and Kahuna 2 pockets.
That is crazy. And I'm sure George has some ideas on why just that one little area would produce those kind of blue-green tourmalines and nowhere else. But that'd be fascinating to know more about.
Yeah, that blue interests me because we do have malachite, pseudo-malachite, and chrysocolla in the area. There is copper minerals in the area. We never had one of those tested, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's got some because it's right in the area where they came from.
Interesting. Wouldn't that be kind of a fun Paraíba type find?
Yeah,
Pala?
It wouldn't. There was we definitely had copper minerals right there.
That's crazy. All right, let's look at this. Let's look at this guy on Matrix. Oh,
yeah, that's a fantastic piece, huh? That's OceanView. It's got one repair, nicely done. We found that the cap was missing, and then we found the cap, put it back on, And I'm not sure where that is today, but I got a poster of that hanging on my wall behind me.
How
Nice
big is
rock.
it?
Oh God, as I recall, it was like maybe 6 inches tall,
Okay, thanks.
something like that. Beautiful, really aesthetic, and sits just right. Had a lot going for it.
Oh, that is a great piece. And what about these guys? I mean, there's just a weird coloring here. It's got a bunch of red, but a bunch of blue. I mean, it's perfectly purple in there.
Yeah, those were big slugs too. That one in the middle is like beer can size.
It's fantastic.
We got those out of right below the Kahuna 2 zone. It turned into a real altered zone of the pegmatite. There were major pockets, one after the other, but they were, I don't know whether it got too hot for too long, didn't cool quick enough, or what happened, but they mostly got eaten up. And in some places they escaped alteration in those pockets. And we found those where they're partly altered, but not all the way, but the color was just outstanding on those. As the Coons was just above it.
I mean, those are just fantastic.
Yeah, they are. They are. Everything else was pretty well eaten up around them. There were, like I say, there were a few that somehow escaped alteration. If that pocket hadn't have been altered, it would have been a bonanza. Those pockets, so they were big. You could crawl inside of them, and they were stuffed with, tourmalines, which were ranged from those to now they're paste. You could take your finger and just stick it in them. They were everything in between.
Right. Okay, let's take a look at these right here. Almost there, you can call them green caps. Where'd these come from?
Greenish blue caps. They came from just above the Kahuna 2 zone, and really outstanding color. Yeah, that I still, those are all in my collection still.
Those are in your collection. Fantastic.
Yes.
Hang on to those. Those are beauties.
Yeah, they are. Very nice.
Jeff, what I'm going to ask you now is we're coming towards the end of the show. So I would love it if you could pick up your phone and go outside and show the viewers a little bit of what we're looking at around your area. While you're doing that, I'm going to ask Raquel to go ahead and launch the Quickfire 5 question poll for our viewers. So Jeff, if that's popped up on your screen, you can minimize that, make that go away. In the meantime, let's take a look outside your house there up on top of the Pala Chief.
All right, we're going to turn this camera around. Give me a second so I can know where I'm pointing the darn thing. Okay, we're going to go outside, and the weather's cooperating a little bit at the moment. I don't want to put that.
No, cancel.
Hey, are you with me, Brian?
We are with you.
All right, I'm going to walk out onto my deck here. The weather's cooperating just for a moment. The old Paula Chief workings are down here underneath my house. The tunnels run up under here. There's the Stewart mine on the east side. You can see the pegmatite. There's the tourmaline queen up there. This is a good view. You can see the Queen Mountain on the left and this rocky granitic mountain on the right where there are no pegmatites. There's 2 mountain ranges against each other here. And this one has no pegmatite in it. And this one does. And then Chief Mountain does to the east. So the district is just kind of cuts right through them. You can see it's faulted pretty heavily on that mountain slope. It is cold out here. It doesn't get this cold in San Diego.
Now, Jeff, if you pan back towards the left, you've got a building in the foreground that used to be the Miners Inn. It was a B&B. Is that still open?
Yep, I got people down there right now. See the car?
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's still available. If people friends of mine want to stay a couple days or whatever. It's really nice getaway spot. This is to the north of the mine area. This is Palomar Mountain behind us, which it's snowing up there right now. I can feel it. That goes to about 5,500 feet. And this is a nice planter we built out of the pegmatite rock from the mine.
And you had some guy there building all those rock walls for you out of the detritus of your diggings. And I love those. They're beautiful.
Yeah, that's a beautiful planter. And then we've enclosed, you can see under the deck, we've enclosed it all the way around with bagmatite. We got this planter over here. My wife's cactus garden. So yeah, and then we got, we have rock walls all over the property that we've been building.
I love it.
This house is run off solar and batteries. So we run on big batteries at night.
Mm-hmm.
We've been able to spend some money doing it, but we got air conditioning and everything up here now. So we're styling. This is the mine's office. Some of the utility vehicles used to transport tourists around the mountain. We have 6 of these. Some air compressors over there. God, it's cold, isn't it?
Get back inside. I don't want you to get too freezing there.
I got a t-shirt on. Feels like it's going to snow.
So that is the view from Jeff's house / office right up there on top of the Pala Chief. And Jeff, if people were interested in reserving a spot at the bed and breakfast at the Miners Inn, how would they do that? Is it done online, or do they just reach out to you directly?
No, super easy. Because just go to digforgems.com.
Okay.
And it's all there. It's all up to date. It's all current. And you don't pay till you get here. You just make your reservation, so you know where to be and when to be. You're not guessing. Terrific. There's a calendar there. Days highlighted in green we offer. And it'll email you stuff as soon as you sign up, put you on the list so we can correspond with you. If we have a rain out or something, we can send you a message.
Right on. So that's digforgems.com. I've got a few more photographs that I want to share with the viewers. This next one, let's cut back to my camera if we could. We were talking about celebrities that were coming up to your pay to dig site. And these are 2 celebrities in the mining world that are very near and dear to me. That's my father and Dr. Pete Bancroft, Uncle Pete right there on the right. And so I think I know this was the last time my father came up there, and I'm pretty sure that was the last time Pete had come up there.
I think you're right. And that was quite the day, wasn't it? I mean, your father was, both of those guys are just legends in the gem mining. What can you say?
Absolutely. And Jeff, this is a personal thank you to you, because this was my father's last trip underground in a mine ever. And you had him down there and allowed him to dig out some kunzites. You made a comment earlier about how he was frustrated over all the tourmalines he found, but he never found a kunzite. And here he was able to dig out a kunzite. And that was an incredible experience for him.
It was. He told me, he said, I've done a lot of things in mining, but I've never found a kunzite pocket.
That's right.
Never dug kunzite. I go, there you go. Here's a screwdriver.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I know exactly the year that this photo was taken. It was 2010. And I know that because that was the year that the World Cup was being held in South Africa. And I had bought him that Brazil jersey because Brazil had made it to the quarterfinals before they were knocked out by the Netherlands. And ironically, it was Spain who ended up winning the World Cup that year. So that cuts it back to our dear Raquel, her home country. And while we're talking about my dad and Raquel, I want to bring this up as the final image. Raquel sent this to me yesterday, and I was blown away. But this is from the Harvard collection. And if you can't read the label, it says spodumene variety kunzite in clay in fragments from Pala, San Diego County, California, courtesy of Ed Swoboda. So that was a donation that my dad made to the Harvard Museum, and apparently it's still in the collection. So,
awesome.
So Raquel, thanks for sending me that. Jeff, thanks for the interview. And if you're ready, we're about to go into the quick fire 5 questions. Do you know what that is?
Let's go.
Okay, so just in case you're not clear, I've got 5 questions I'm going to ask you here. You have not heard any of these questions, and there's basically 2 answers to each question. You will answer which of the 2 answers resonates most strongly to you. All of your answers are correct. We're going to see how well the viewing audience matched up with your answers. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Question number 1. These aren't easy questions. Question number 1, kunzite or tourmaline?
I'm going to go with kunzite because we're the only producer of it.
There we go. Question number 2, mine cat or mine dog?
My mine dog just died recently.
I know.
Cats
Poor
don't
Roxy.
last out. Cats don't last out here very long.
Yeah.
Roxy lasted 10 years. She was a tough
Roxy
dog.
was an awesome dog. She was great.
Yeah, she was indeed.
She was the one that like snakes would bite her and they would die.
Yeah, she got bit 5 times by rattlesnakes. And
she kept going.
She was a tough dog.
Okay, question number 3. It's a bit obscure, but I think you'll understand this. Favorite insect, butterfly or grasshopper?
Oh, I'm going with butterfly.
Okay. Question 4, cerveza or tequila?
I'm going with cerveza.
Cerveza. And the last question, question number 5, Don Ho or Big Kahuna?
Big Kahuna.
All righty. We've
That's
got
you
the 5 in. Pardon me?
That's you nowadays.
Don Ho?
No, the Big Kahuna.
You are too kind. You are too kind. Okay, so is it Eloise? Are you gonna read off the answers here?
And sure.
Okay. Question number 1. We asked Jeff if he resonated stronger with kunzite or tourmaline. He went with kunzite. What did our viewers say?
Public said kunzite as well.
Bing, bing. Question number 2, mine cat or mine dog? Jeff went with Roxy, the mine dog, of course. What did our viewers say?
And viewers said dog, yes.
Oh, nice. Question number 3. This I said was the obscure one, butterfly or grasshopper. Jeff produces a series of beautiful tourmaline butterfly wings. So I was hoping he caught on to my subtlety there, and it sounds like he did because he went with butterfly. What did
Absolutely.
our viewers say?
Our viewers as well said butterfly.
Ooh, these people might know Jeff pretty well.
They might.
They might have gone to the mine already, yeah.
They've probably been to the booth in Tucson too.
Oh, I'm sure they have.
Yeah.
Question number 4, cerveza or tequila? We got the cerveza answer. What did our viewers say?
Yes, cerveza as well.
Oh, okay. This might be the first 5 out of 5 that we've had in a while, because I think if anyone got this next one wrong, they haven't been paying attention. Don Ho or Big Kahuna? Jeff went with the Kahuna, of course. What did our viewers say?
94% went with Big Kahuna.
Fantastic. All right. We got winners all across the board here. Jeff, we're going to go into our Q&A section. Raquel and Eloise are going to read some questions to you, and these are questions from the viewers that they've been asking online. So this is your chance to answer those questions directly. Ladies, please take it away.
You know, Brian, if you allow me, before we go in the questions, I know Jeff was curious to see exactly our kunzites.
Beautiful.
Those are the original ones from Pala. And one thing that still shocked me is the color that you
Look at
get.
that.
And on the
That's the stuff.
Z-axis.
Yeah, that's a beauty.
Yeah. So this is one of them, which is thicker. And the typical,
Right.
the typical matla. And then the other one that came from the same pocket is thinner, but
Yeah.
long.
But it's longer, yeah.
long blade, yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen those. I'm really thrilled you went and got them.
Yeah. Yeah, they are part of our, they are stored. We always keep them in the dark. I
Right,
don't know
right.
if they lost color. I don't know, throughout the years. These were mine, remind me, 1890.
Oh, those are going to be about right after the turn of the century.
Okay.
I'm going to say 1903
Okay.
Or right in there.
Before the World's
Okay.
Fair.
Yeah, before the World's Fair. And the World's Fair was held in San Diego in 1915.
Yep.
And Kunzite had just become a big thing. And they built a rock building mock tunnel. Yeah, but before Josephine Scripps' time, they built a tunnel that was Paula Chief. It said Paula Chief Mine on it, the only mine that produces Kunzite. And they made a big thing of it in the World's Fair because it was at the time there was the only place it came from in the world and had just been discovered.
And Jeff, tell the viewers how Kunzite got its name.
Oh, I can show you a photograph. The old miners, Frank Salmons and the Shepherds that were out here, they started finding these purple crystals, and they thought they were some kind of tourmaline that they weren't sure. They just knew they were beautiful. They didn't know what they were. So they sent some to New York City. A guy named George Kuntz worked there. He was the leading authority on colored stones at the time in the world. And he's the one that took a look at them. There's a famous photo of him examining that crystal we've all seen. And he decided that was a new stone the world had never seen before. So they ended up naming it after him, Kunzite. Although he wasn't the miner or the discoverer, he was the one who could prove it was a new stone.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oddly
And
enough,
he was working for Tiffany's at the time, wasn't he?
yes, he was in New York City. Oddly enough, about a month ago, we had descendants of his up at the mine.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, Kuntz family. And I said, "Are you descendants of George Kuntz?" And they said, "Yes, we are."
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Isn't that a cool story? Yeah, they lived in near New York. They're still East Coast. They're still out there. They know who George, they know they're descendants of his, and they know the story. We gave them a lot of love and gave them some extra tours around here.
Wow, that's fascinating story. Love it.
Well, let me add a little bit to that. Your mine is such a congregation place. I don't know, I think it was about a year ago, you texted me saying that you had some guy coming up that made reservations, and his name is Wade Swoboda. And you asked if he was a relation of mine, and I had never heard of him, but I contacted him and found out that his family had come from Omaha, which is the same place that my family came from. So Wade and I figured out that we are distant relations, and we have yet to get together and figure out exactly what lineage it is. But I believe it was my father's father, my grandfather Henry. One of his brothers was the lead of that branch of the family. And
I believe that's right.
Yeah, so here we go. OceanView and Pala Chief is uniting clans of the Swoboda tribe.
He was just up here 2 weeks ago again.
I'm looking for, I know you sent me a photograph. I'm looking for the photograph on my iPad, but I don't have it right now. I can probably send it over here. Hang on. Well, go on with the questions, and I'll see if I can get this photo online.
Okay, Jeff, we have a few questions throughout the chat, and then go through the Q&A. So someone was asking about the Stewart mine, because I think it's a mine that is also heard a lot. Can you tell us about it? Anything?
Yeah, I worked there for many years, me and some of my crew. And then the current owner, who has it still, but it's closed down, and I doubt it'll ever operate again, sadly. He said he was going to do all these things with the mine, but none of it ever got done. That's how we ended up over here, because we wanted to mine. So we got a chance to, so we jumped over here, spent a lot of years underground in there. But I just look at it now across the valley, and I think it's probably a thing of the past, sadly.
In the past, it was very prolific, mining lepidolite and all these lithium minerals. So any major finds from the Stewart mine?
Yeah, the American Lithia Company mined it in the 1920s for lithia. At the time, it's only 3.5% ore, but at the time, it was the best way to recover it was send it to Germany, and they would mine it there and send it on a ship to Germany, and to get 3.5% lithia out of it. And then, of course, that's not enough return on. It's too small of a deposit, really, for today's. I get this a lot. All the lithium out there, these pegmatites have it, but it's way too small of a deposit to, really be helpful to the big mining companies.
I see. So along those lines, one of the questions was, what's the latest thinking on how these pegmatites form, or what kind of pegmatites? Do you want to share anything about that?
Well, as you know, for every scientist, there's another theory. And David London spent a lot of time out here, and he's got his ideas. And USGS scientists have told us that they think it's about 114 million years old, these pegmatites. So, they were developed at depth, of course. And every one of them here is running basically north and south and dipping west. There's like a field of them, a pegmatite field. There's about 400 dikes in the 8 square mile area.
And they are all obviously rich in lithium and boron. That's why we get, so they're very late when talking about pegmatites. There will be these, what they call LCT or cavities, mineralitic cavities, right? That's why you get all these.
Actually, most of them are not rich in rare elements.
Okay.
There's maybe 30 that are of the 400 dikes. A lot of them are just simple pegmatites with biotite, maybe some schorl and some garnet and quartz crystals, but you don't see any of the rare earth elements in most of them.
Okay, very good. At any minute, I seen your pegmatites fluorescent.
Yeah, the triphane that we find at the Paula Chief is.
Fluorescent. Very cool.
I don't know why, but it is.
Okay.
That's holds its color too.
There was another question in the chat about the alteration of the spodumene. Does it alter to petalite, or what kind of clay, or what's the alteration that you see?
In the OceanView, it was associated with lepidolite, but in the Paula Chief, what we found in the Paula Chief is we didn't have any lepidolite. All we had is a montmorillonite pink clay that had been decomposed lepidolite. So it doesn't take much, and it's if the area is silica rich and has some lepidolite minerals of some kind in the area, it seems to be, you got a chance for kunzite on this mountain. None of the other mines really produce much kunzite. There's a couple on Harry Art Hill, and I did find a few at the Stewart years ago, but very few. Mostly this Chief Mountain has it. No, it was unknown to occur in the OceanView before we made our find. Okay. When you talk kunzite, everybody thought Paula Chief. So that was a discovery that we made.
Very good. Someone asked about how often are there earthquake tremors?
Don't pay much attention to them. I got Camp Pendleton not far away, and they're always dropping 500-pound bombs, and then there's people mining out here, and so I've lived here my whole life. I don't pay much attention to tremors, although it's on a fault system where these pegmatites occur. So at one time they might have been. I've never really had anything too big up here.
Nice. So along those lines, how do you find your pockets? Do you use any geophysics, GPR, or do you just drill?
Mainly, we pick the most mineralized spot we can find, where the rock. And after doing this for many, many years, you kind of know where absolutely not to dig, and you put yourself in places where, hey, we got the right mineral assemblage here, and things look good, and you just get in there and tunnel. And if it starts looking good, better. We usually have an idea we're about ready to find it before we even find it, just because we've been doing this a long time. Know what we're looking at.
I bet. And one last question we have from the attendees: with all the blasting, do you have to do any soaring of your tunnels?
Nope. The rock is very hard, and it takes considerable effort to get through it. So with today's blasting techniques, we don't. We drill, if you drill it properly and shoot it with tunnel delays that go off in the exact sequence you want them to go off in, you can preserve the integrity of your top of your tunnel, which is called the back. In the old days, they used to use fuse caps, and they would go off out of order sometimes and cause shot damage to the upper part of the round. And those old tunnels are kind of hazardous. But the new ones that we cut with tunnel delays are pretty darn, they'll be there for 1,000 years.
Thank you. Brian, I think that's it from my side. I don't know if Eloise, any other question on the audience?
No, I think we managed to get in and get the other ones in, so we're all good.
Okay, terrific. Well, Jeff, I did find that picture of Wade. There it is right there. That's Wade Swoboda and Jeff Swanger. This was last week?
Yeah.
Last week up at the OceanView / Pala Chief. All right, that is going to do it for our show today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, asking a lot of great questions. Jeff, a big mahalo to you for being on our show and sharing your story with us.
It's been an honor. Anytime, my friend.
All right, brother. I hope to be down there and see you real soon. For all of you viewers out there, tune on back. Next month, we're going to have another exciting episode of Mineral Talks Live, and keep your eyes peeled for the David Wilbur interview to go on later this week. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a great week.